2 of the trial against Brian Atkinson is underway. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jim Rake.
And I'm Brittany Pieper. Atkinson is charged with burglary, deviant sexual assault, and rape in Boone County. He was originally jailed at the Caldwell County Detention Center but escaped in August of 2013. Authorities found him hiding out in Ohio a month later. He then came back to Missouri in April of last year to face his charges here. This afternoon, the prosecution called the nurse who examined the alleged victim and a detective assigned to the case to the stand. KOMU 8's Jeffrey Militzer is outside the courthouse now with what we know about the case so far.
Thanks, Brittany. The defense just finished questioning the detective in the original investigation. Earlier today, the prosecution called up the nurse who originally examined the victim after the incident occurred. The nurse says the bruising the victim had on May 4th was consistent with cases of sexual assault she has seen before. The nurse also noted there was no internal damage to the victim. Detective Mitch Baxley of the Columbia Police Department testified, saying Atkinson's story Atkinson's story in his interview with him is inconsistent with the cold call conducted a few days earlier. We'll have more information on the trial as it goes on into the night. Reporting live in Columbia, I'm Jeffrey Militzer, KOMU 8 News.
Columbia Police and Fire need your help in solving 2 arsons from last year. At a news conference today, the fires at the Parkade Baptist Church and the Bach-Yeager Funeral Chapel have too much in common not to be considered related. KOMU 8's Leanne Denyer has been following the investigation the past few months and joins us now with the details. Leanne?
The Bach-Yeager Funeral Chapel is undergoing renovations after it burned in mid-November. You can see there's a construction bin just behind me here. While demolition inside is almost complete, the search for who caused this place to burn is still far from over. Police and fire say that they need the community's help to figure it out. Once the fire is out and the paperwork is filed, it's a waiting game.
There's evil in the world, and where it's aimed at or how it's aimed, who knows.
The co-owner of the Bach-Yeager Funeral Chapel says he's anxious for someone to come forward.
If somebody saw something, they just need to step up and call the authorities.
He offered one description for the person or people who torched the space he and his late wife built together.
Somebody that's is sick.
This is video from last November, just days after the chapel burned. You can see there's extensive smoke and fire damage inside. But investigators say this fire may just be one piece of a larger picture of crimes appearing to target religious and spiritual places.
The fact that there's been other events involving churches around the community, combined with these 2 fires, we believe that there may be some commonality to that. And again, that's why we're asking the community to help us find information that might lead to some arrests.
Other events like broken windows and splattered paint. Fire crews say there are too many similarities. 2 weeks and just 5 blocks apart, both the Bach-Yeager Chapel and the Parkade Baptist Church burned. And investigators say both were on purpose. For Bach, asking the public to come forward is bigger than finding his own closure.
We've seen our fires, vandalism at churches, shootings, homicides, robberies. I think what the authorities are asking is for citizens to take hold of their community and be responsible for helping control the evil in our community. Let's find out who's doing it so somebody else doesn't have to go through what I'm going through.
There is a $1,500 reward for information that leads to the arrest and conviction of the person who set fire to the chapel. Anyone with information is encouraged to call the police or the fire department. Reporting live in Columbia, Leanne Denyer, KOMU 8 News.
The man accused of drunken driving and backing his car into a Columbia bar and restaurant has been assigned a different judge. 36-year-old Shane Healy is accused of backing his car into Addison's restaurant October 25th, injuring 4 patrons. Boone County Judge Gary Oxenhandler will now hear the case. There was no reason given as to why Healy wanted a new judge. Healy is the Montauk County prosecuting attorney.
Drivers will have to pump the brakes heading into Columbia starting next week. MoDOT plans to lower the speed limit from 70 miles per hour to 60 miles per hour on a portion of I-70. KOMU 8's Kelly Skian tells us when and where to watch that speedometer.
The drop in speed will be on I-70 east of the Route 63 connector to just east of the Lake of the Woods exit. That includes this stretch of road right here. This means that drivers coming from St. Louis to Columbia will need to slow down. This is the last portion of I-70 in Columbia to get the slowdown. MoDOT decided on the change after looking at crash data from the past 5 years. Columbia resident Lance Sellers lives near the I-70 and Route 63 interchange, and he hopes that the speed limit change will make the area less congested.
I mean, it might help a little bit, get a little more organized, because it's always just a cluster in that area.
Other drivers I talked to said that they think that the slowdown will just slow them down and will be an annoyance. MoDOT says it does not anticipate the change to affect travel times or traffic flow. Reporting live in Columbia, Kelly Skian, KOMU 8 News.
Rather than driving more and more, travelers are flying out of the Columbia Regional Airport. The Associated Press reports more than 53,000 passengers used the airport last year. That's about 10,000 more than the previous year and the most since 1987. That continues a turnaround that began with the declines between the years 1989 and 2007.
In your national news, a horrific story about the death of a 5-year-old in Florida, plus a high-speed chase is caught on camera in Texas. KOMU 8's Bria Love has your First Nation report.
Today, a man is in jail accused of murdering his 5-year-old daughter by throwing her off a bridge in Florida. Officers say the father, John Johnchuk, sped past an officer who was heading home last night. When the officer got to the top of the bridge, officials say Johnchuk was waiting for him. That's when police say he reached for his daughter and threw her over the bridge. Chief Anthony Holloway says the girl's body was recovered about a mile away. Rescuers tried to revive her, but she had already died. 3 men are in custody after leading police on a high-speed chase in Texas. The Pearland Police Department tried stopping a driver, but the driver took off. At one point, the driver and passenger bailed out of the minivan, hopped over a median, and began running. They eventually stopped and gave up. A third suspect was arrested back in the abandoned van on the highway. Security cameras captured a terrifying bus crash in New Mexico. The video released today shows the moment the bus collides with a pickup truck that ran a red light. You see the driver flying through the windshield. It happened on January 2nd, and fortunately, neither the bus driver or the truck driver were seriously injured. Honda will face a hefty fine for failing to submit early reports for potential or actual safety issues. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is fining Honda a total of $70 million for failing to report deaths, injuries, and certain warranty claims to the federal government. This is the largest auto safety fine in U.S. history. Honda admitted in November it violated federal laws that require automakers to disclose reports to the NHTSA. And that's your first look around the nation.
In world news, another emotional day in Paris. Vigils were held across the country, including the Eiffel Tower going dark to honor the victims of this week's terrorist attack. French police are still searching for 2 brothers behind the attack at a Paris magazine which killed a dozen people. NBC's Ron Allen picks up the story.
Another emotional night here in Paris with perhaps 2,000 or 3,000 people gathered here not far from where those brutal attacks took place, chanting, "We are Charlie, I am Charlie," and singing the French national anthem in a show of solidarity, support, and resolve and determination in the face of these attacks. Today, we also learned from the chief law enforcement officials here in Paris that they are going to increase security even further.
It's scary and sad, but I think we feel secure.
Some 88,000 law enforcement officers and hundreds of military will be on the streets again tomorrow at certain locations, sensitive locations like public buildings, tourist destinations, houses of worship. They are zeroing in on a community some 90 minutes drive to the north of Paris where the 2 suspects, the 2 brothers, were apparently sighted earlier in the day. A sighting that has still not been confirmed, but SWAT teams, heavily armed SWAT teams, are going door to door, concentrating the search for the suspects there. That's been going on for several hours. Unclear if they will find the suspects they're looking for. But here again, in the center of Paris, a huge show of resolve. Thousands of people gathered together chanting, "We are Charlie, we will not be frightened, we will not be intimidated." as Paris comes together again in the face of these brutal attacks. Ron Allen, NBC News, Paris.
It was another windy day, but at least it was a little warmer than yesterday. Let's send it over to Kenton for a look at our forecast.
Exactly right, Brittany. Much warmer than yesterday. It actually might surprise you. We are 23 degrees warmer in Columbia than we were 24 hours ago. And actually looking over into Kansas City, they're even warmer, 26 degrees warmer to be specific, 18 over in St. Louis. That gives us temperatures right now into the 30s actually for Columbia and Jefferson City, 31 and 32 there. Otherwise 20s for a lot of us, 24 in Moberly, 25 in Boonville and down in Versailles as well. But winds, they were really a big story today. Although we did have higher temperatures, we also had higher winds, 21 miles an hour right now from the west there in Columbia. And that's giving us wind chills right around 18 in Columbia. Unfortunately, we're not feeling like that 30-degree mark, feeling like 20 in Jefferson City as well. By sunrise, we're going to be right around 9 degrees. And tomorrow, unfortunately, will be a little bit cooler than we were today, but it's going to be sunny once again. I'll talk about that and much more coming up in a little bit.
When watching TV, lots of us like to have a little snack, but coming up in Your Health, see how watching TV can actually lead to bad eating habits.